Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Lemonade podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. Today, we'll be talking about one of the true meanings of leadership. Welcome everyone to Make Limited Podcast once again. Thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is John and I am your host for Make Limited Podcast, and we are super excited that you have joined us today. It is a new month. That's right, a new month. We are on the first Tuesday of the month. You know, I get so excited when we have a Tuesday, when we have a Monday that starts off the month. I mean, there is nothing like it. And so I'm super excited for that. Yesterday was March 1st and today is March 2nd, just in case you didn't know. And it is Tuesday and we are ready for a new podcast. Today we're talking about one of the true meanings of leadership. Okay, but before we go, let me just give you a little heads up of what we're going to be talking in the end of this podcast, and that is our new let me say that one more time, our new website. So stay tuned because we're going to talk about a little bit more and give you information on that. But with no further ado, let's get into this podcast because I am excited to share with you the true meaning, or one of the true meanings, of leadership. Alright guys, so we are here talking about one of the true meanings of leadership. And the reason why I say one of the true meaning of leadership is because I don't want you to think that's only one way to be a leader, okay? Because throughout history, we have seen, if we go into history right now in the timelines, we see that there were many different kinds of leaders that were good, bad, and mediocre, that were just going by the time, or benefiting themselves only, or benefiting the people, or just working to their family, to grow their family's inheritance and riches or their kingdom. We have seen it through history of what mankind has made leadership to be. And so in saying that, I want to talk about one of the true meanings of leadership. One of the true meanings means true to me. This is what has been true to me in my life. When life has hit me hard, when life has just been difficult, or even, which is the top topic of today, and that is even when you are leading others to a certain goal, right? So that is one of the things that, that we're going to be hitting on today. So before we go to anything, like always, that I like giving you the meaning for leadership. Why? Because it just helps us understand and put leadership into its right context, according to the definition that we have given it. And so leadership means the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Okay? That is one of the meanings that right here we have in dictionary.com. So, again, the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Okay, so when we think about leadership, we are leading people, right? Whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a whole nation, right? And so in being in that position, you are required to take people from one place to another, right? And in that place, we're going to talk about this a little further. Right now, we're just going to hit the beginning of it. In that place, we're going to talk about the hardship that it takes to bring people in the middle ground and how to deal with it, right? So, in my experience, the first thing that I ever saw leadership without even noticing, there's a conscious and there's an unconscious. The conscious was directly from the Bible's characters. From the book, the Bible, the characters in there. And that was Moses. Okay, Moses was chosen. If you don't know the story, Moses was chosen by God to be the leader to take his people out of Egypt into the promised land, right? And so we enjoy that part of the story when we read it because we're like, wow, it's so amazing. He was chosen, he did this, he divided the seas, and he walked the people through that. And so I've seen documentaries, I've seen people try to remake this process to see how it really happened or if it was even possible. And so, going through that, those are, I want to say, the good stuff, right? The luxury stuff that happens within a leadership, right? For example, one of the good stuff that happens in the leadership is you get to be the person that everybody looks at to, right? Second, you get to be the one who makes the major decisions, and so on and so forth of leadership. I guess you could say like little perks that you get as a leader. But that's what happens when you look at leadership, I want to say as a rookie, from the beginning. Okay? We look at what we can get from something, right? When you go into a job and you're looking for something, why do you go for the job? Did you go because it was your career, or did you go because it paid well? And so my point is, when we look at a leadership, one of the first things that we look at is, what do they get to do? Okay? And again, that is the rookie way to come into it, right? Everybody does it. Everybody looks at the leadership and it's like, wow, I am amazed of this man. He's a great man. He does this, he does that, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But the part that I want to point to you is the most important part, and that is the middle part. The middle part is the part that we don't like. We don't want to talk about because sometimes it's too boring, or sometimes it's just too tough to talk about. One of the things that happens is the truth hurts, right? And so on and so forth when it comes into talking about the middle part. Why is the middle part so important? Because it is where everything is growing. Okay? That's as best as I can put it. And simple. It's where everything comes together to grow. One of the things that I was looking at was a video of a woman talking about how a seed is in the dark, and it grows in the dark before it comes into the light. And when it comes into leading someone, right, to a place, it's very simple to say, I'm leading someone into a place, versus what happens when you're leading that person in the middle of it. Because you get to know their character, you get to know who they are, you get to know their complaints, you get to know their good stuff, you get to know their talents, you get to know, why they're there, and so on and so forth. And this is what happened in the story Moses. When I was reading and I've read this chapter like more than 100 times already, and I come back to the same thing of getting to know who these people really were. And I come to my mind, because it doesn't matter what I say or how disappointed I am, or how these people reacted, how they were humans. And so if we were in the same place, we would probably be doing the same thing, because we all have the same reaction as humans, we have the same emotions, and we all go with the bigger crowd if you are not influenced by that. I mean, if you are influenced by that. If you're not influenced, you'll probably stay with the smaller groups. And that's where other people in the story come to aid Moses in leading these people, right? But the story is in the middle. That's the part that I'm telling you. There was like some bending, there was some breaking, because it was tough for Moses to lead this people. But he couldn't do it alone. So when we're talking about one of the true meanings of leadership, okay, here it is. Here is one of the true meanings of leadership. And that is a very simple epiphany that when you hear this word, you're probably going to be like, wow, didn't think about it in those terms. And here it is. One of the true meaning of leadership is just caring. That's it. That is it. Just caring. Just caring enough to do something about it. You see, when I was looking at this book, when I was looking at people who were in leadership in my life, and I came to the point of where their failure was my disappointment in my life, that I didn't know where to turn to leaderships. I didn't know where to go and what to do, and I was trying to find this leadership in my life, that it took me to a long marathon to discover that one of the true meanings of leadership is you just care. So when I saw Moses, and he wasn't in a sense allowed to be in the promised land because of his not wanting to obey something that that God had told him to, and he decided to break the rock because the people were complaining and complaining and complaining. He was tired of it. Again, just care. Just care. There comes times in our lives when we, as a people, just don't care. Instead of just caring, we just don't care. And so we are, like, in a sense, like Moses, and we decide to just do what others have been nagging us about and not follow what we've decided to do in our lives, right? Now, I went a little too far on that, but my point on this, because I'm going to be talking about that later on, my point for this is that we are all leaders. That was my self-discovery. We are all leaders because there's always someone looking. There's always someone seeing what we're doing. Okay, whether it be family, friends, strangers, pets, animals, they are all looking at you to guide them. Okay? It's not something that is enforced. Leadership is not enforced. It is not. Every leader that you see in history just cared about something. And they cared enough to do something about it, and people followed. Why? Because they cared enough to show that they would do anything that they could in their power, in their knowledge, and their resource to achieve a goal. And others admired that. Others wanted to follow that. Others had some sort of opinion that agreed with that, and they'd followed that. That's the leadership that we're talking about, the just care leadership. It is a small principle, but it's more powerful than anything that you can think or imagine. Why is this so powerful? Why is just caring so powerful? Because not many would want to do it. Not many. We are all leaders. Every person, every one of you. You the one right now. I'm talking to you. You are listening to this podcast, and whoever's around you, I'm talking to you too. You're listening to this podcast, and you are a leader. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you've said. I don't care what you've, imagined in your head. You are a leader. Each and every one of us are a leader. We care about something, and that care that we care about something, we are leading people into that. Whether it be just yourself, whether it be, again, people, friends, family, strangers, or animals, we are leading them there. You can even say reptiles if you wanted to, but the point is that you are leading people there. Okay? And so, in saying that, in the true meaning of just caring, it is super important for us to be careful about what we just care. Because it is such a powerful thing. We've seen it through history. We've seen it through history over and over again, how leaders who their just care, went into a wrong direction. And nations, people, countries suffered because of it. And still today, they're suffering. And there's leadership that rise up because they just care about that certain subject, and others follow. Right? So, in that position it puts me at the question to ask you, what are you just caring for? What are you doing in that midst? Okay, because that is the first option. Okay, when we go back to Moses, what did Moses just care about? Moses just cared about him being okay. Okay? And in a very small summary, his concern was mostly about, I left. I would want to go save these people. I want to, deliver. I want to be the messenger, but I don't have it in me to do it. But yet he didn't look at his resources. So God had to reappoint him, readjust him to Aaron so that Aaron could translate for him and speak for him. And so in saying that, what are you caring for? And who are you leading? Right? We know that it was a something that God told Moses to go and lead, But today we are talking about you. You as a leader. What are you just caring about? Who are you leading? And that we're talking about now, we're going to get into a deeper, which what I said I was going to talk about, and that is the nitty-gritty of what happens in the middle. Okay? Because it's one of the toughest things as leaders when we understand what we care about and then going through it. And let me give you a small example of myself. One of the hardest things that I have come to face is when people say, and even myself, say, I just want to help people. I don't know if you've heard it before. You probably said it. I just want to help people. I don't know if you've heard this saying when they say, it's easier said than done. And if you have, then you can agree with me in the fact that when we say, I just want to help people, it's something that it's easily said than done. Because when it comes to helping people, then you got to, once you see where you want to help, right? For example, let's say we want to help, people who need food, right? They don't have food, they need shelter. Well, we can donate, right? We can donate. We can get our hands in there and actually get our hands, like I like to say, get your hands dirty and get in the work, right? All of that has a process. All of that has a process of growth or elevation that you need to go through. And that in itself, how much you push, how much you care will show, right? But in doing so, you need to go to the process of, okay, where am I going to help, right? How am I even going to start this? How am I going to get money for food to help people? How am I going to do all this stuff, right? You start asking all these questions, and then when you're going in the process, okay, that's just the beginning process. When you're in the process, now you got to go and talk to these people. Now you got to go and meet these people, understand these people. And that is another process because not everyone is going to want to be helped. Does that make sense? Not everyone is going to be very lenient and be like, hey, yeah, come over here. Some people go there because they have other problems, other issues, right? And some people go there because they need it. And so you're going to go in that process and you're going to go discover that it's more than just, I'm going to help people. Now you understand that, okay, well, now it's emotionally, now it's mentally, now it's physically, now it's, somewhere in the brain that you need to go medically, right? Or you figure out things about their life, that how they lost things, and you start seeing all these stories, and you start having all these emotions, and you're like, wow, I just can't believe this. I just got to do more for these people, right? All that process, all that is time, is hard work. It's something that takes energy. And it is heavy. That's why one of the true meanings of leadership is just care. Just care enough to do something about a situation. Okay? Because when you become a leader, when you decide that you're a leader and you become that, then you meet the process of what it means to be that true leader. and that is caring enough for these people to do something about it. Caring enough for these people to actually talk to them, actually trying to find shelter for them, actually trying to find, work for them, or actually trying to find these things that are not easy to do. Right? Trying to communicate with programs that you got to go through a certain application. And what are you going to do? It's one person that you're trying to help. Are you just going to tell them, go to that place or go online and, apply for this place and then let me know? But how much do you care? Were you willing to go the extra mile with them? Are you willing to push or advocate for them? Are you willing to take them to those places that they need to get help? Are you willing to help them yourself? Just care enough to do something. One of the true meanings of leadership. One of the true meanings that you see throughout history, that men and women just cared enough to do something. But in that process, there was difficulty, there was challenges, and reward. Right? There's always a reward in something that you do, whether it be positive or negative. It's like saying there's always consequences in something that you do, positive or negative, right? If you do something good, you're going to reap good. If you're going to do something bad, you're going to reap bad. But the point is that I'm letting you know is that as a leader, you're going to go through that process. So don't be surprised when you meet certain circumstances as a leader in a certain area that you cared about so much. Why? Because there are going to be these challenges. And I'm preparing you when you go ahead and you decide, I am going to be this leader. You, at some point, are not going to go to the very top of being a leader and getting all those perks, right? Sometimes you're going to be a leader without even being a leader. Sometimes you're going to be a leader and you're going to have to work under people. Which brings me to a small portion of, you got to serve as a leader. Serve. That's what it means to just care enough. Serve. Service. Okay? Because I've gone to places and their customer service is horrendous. It's just bad. And it comes to the point that I have to no longer go into this place or location because that's how bad their service is. It's bad. No respect, disrespect you. Just, live something that is very bad. And I don't know if you've experienced those things, but I have. I remember I used to work at, actually as a service, I used to work at a pizza business. And I was working cashier that day. And there was the rush hour. And my shift was over in about 30 to an hour. And I was there trying to get that rush hour going. And I was at a point where people were starting to get desperate for the food because they had been waiting there more than 10 minutes, maybe 5. And I was all alone in the front. I was the only one. And I was looking back and I had the manager, the workers. They were just laughing, trying to make pizza and just, giggling. From my perspective, I was at a point and I felt like, oh my goodness, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I had to gather myself unconsciously for what was going to happen next. It was just a disaster waiting to happen. I had 20 people waiting in a small, like 10 by 8 area. And then I had all the co-workers far just trying to ignore all the people that were there, just angry because it was taking so long for their pizza to get there. And I was the only one in the middle trying to control both areas. I was trying to talk to a manager without being disrespectful and saying like, hurry up, and then in the front being respectful to the people that were waiting and trying to get them at a first come, first serve. Then I get this one lady. And this lady had been waiting already for a good while. And she was angry. She was angry. She got up all in my face and was telling me all this stuff. Just angry that her pizza wasn't there. and I told her calmly, I understand. And the words are vague, but I remained calm, and I told her if she wanted to wait for the pizza, because there was other people that were in front of her, and I was trying to get everyone going, trying to get him go, and I did apologize for her for her time being there and waiting, because I know it was traffic. People needed to go home. People wanted to go home, and they were just like, I have kids. I gotta feed them. She decided she wanted her money back, and I gave her money back. And the next lady that was behind her, and seeing how aggressive this lady got, told me, I'm so amazed of how patient you remained. You did a great job. In that moment, I didn't consider myself a leader. I didn't think myself a leader. But I did something that somebody agreed on. Somebody admired. Somebody could learn from. Out of all those people, only one of them came up to me and told me that. But how many of them saw what happened? Again, customer service, right? Service. A service of what you are doing for someone else. Yes, she didn't get her pizza, but I was able to return her back her money, where she didn't lose and I didn't lose. She decided to, break her character of waiting and being patient, and decided to go, very rampage, and then decided to take her stuff and go somewhere else. But yet, I remained calm. I remained as a service person, didn't disrespect anybody in that area or anyone, and kept on going, kept on serving. The power of service. That is another area that leadership connects with. Just care enough. And again, all this comes down to is to your area of leadership. Where are you leading in? Do you consider yourself a leader in the area that you're in? Those are things that are super important in our lives. Because if you don't consider yourself a leader, then you are a follower. And if you don't consider yourself a follower, then you are in the blank of space, floating and just going anywhere that feels good. So you become emotionally connected. If somebody says something over there, you agree with that person because you are emotionally connected to what they're saying. And then you turn to someone else who's saying something else, and you're emotionally connected. And as soon as one of those people says something wrong, you automatically leave that place because you don't agree with it. You are emotionally connected to different things that you agree with. Followers are very different. Followers will follow what they agree. They know what they agree or what they believe in, and they'll follow that. Yet, leaders will serve. Leaders just care enough. So if you are thinking in your life, well, I don't have the skills to be a leader, I don't have the ability to be a leader, I never led anybody anywhere because according to dictionary.com, you got to lead a group, you got to lead this. Before a leader becomes a leader, you have to, one, serve. If you want to be at the very top, you got to learn how to serve everyone that is below. And you got to learn to do that and just care enough to be that leader. Because you are leading a group of people to a certain area. Moses was leading people to the promised land that God had promised them. But yet, because of his desperation and his tiredness that people were complaining, he broke character and he decided to do something that God had not told him to do. And in this story, the main point that I have learned is not that he broke his character. It's not that the people were complaining, and it's not that he didn't listen to what God was saying. The part that I understand from this story is the principle that comes out of the whole story. And that principle is keep yourself together. Keep yourself together. If there was anything that Moses could have done, was keep himself together and remove himself from that area and gather his wits so that he could think clearly. Because when you are at a point when people are complaining, when people are just all up on your business because, there's something that they need, obviously you're going to want to give in. But if you know yourself, if you know just to care enough, you know that it is better to do what is good for them than what to give them just something they want. And that is what I have learned from the story of Moses as I grew up to understand what a leader is. And I was looking for people in different areas to find that leadership, when in all, it was in me. That leadership was me. I just needed to know, what do I care enough for to lead? And remember that when you are leading, you are serving. You are caring enough to do things for people so you can take them to a place. And that is one of the true meaning of leadership. Alright guys, you have made it to the end of the podcast, and I'm super glad that you have made it and you have learned and you were inspired and motivated to be better humans. Today we talked about one of the true meaning of leadership, which was just care enough to do something. We also learned that leadership comes with service, and also that leadership is inside us all, and we just have to develop it and grow and apply to just caring enough to what we care. And that is the beautiful thing about leadership. And so going further, we're talking today about what we have with Make Limited Podcast, and that is our new website. We're super excited about this. You can find us on https://makelimitedpodcast.wordpress.com, and I'm super excited about that because it is something that we were allowed to do with Make Limited Podcast in Anchor. We were thinking about this. We had talked about this, and we were really into starting a podcast, but we weren't ready for it. And then out of a sudden, Anchor and WordPress partner up, and we are able now to have a website that has all our episodes, and we're soon going to have blogs and videos and other stuff in there that you're going to be able to get more value into your life to just live and be better humans. And so we're so excited because this is going to be a way that we're going to be able to help people. I mean, there's so much that Make Limited we have in our hearts that we want to do with Make Limited and helping people, because literally that's what Make Limited is all about. And so right now we're doing it with what we can. And so if you want to come in and you want to help, you can go and you can subscribe to our emailing list. You can also support us when we put our ads in the beginning of this podcast, and we are promoting Anchor. You can listen to that, and that would help us also. You can also share us in your social media platforms to your friends, to your family, to help them as well learn about Make Limited Podcast and gain all this value that we are giving to them. And lastly, another way that you can support Make Limited Podcast, and that is through just helping us and donating, because it is something that you're contributing to helping us grow, not only grow, but be able to share this to other people and give and just grow with us. And that is the beautiful thing, because when you become part of Make Limited Podcast, you are a part of something that will last forever and ever and ever. And that is the beautiful thing, because I am super excited for what the steps, when you have something that just comes to you, it's like a miracle. It's something you never thought you would have. It's here, and I'm super excited for that. And that is what we have for today. So again, if you want to go to our website, you can go to https://makelimited.podcast.wordpress.com. Again, you can go into the link that we have on our Anchor and see that there as well, and other areas as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and so many other podcasts that you can listen to us in those areas. So guys, thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you later.